Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour, US and UK launch joint strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen, hit 36 sites across 13 locations. Raging wildfires in Chile kill at least 51, cause widespread destruction. In cricket, Bumrah's historic 6-wicket haul and double ton by Yashasvi Jaiswal provide India a 171-run lead against England in the second test. The US and the United Kingdom have struck multiple targets against Iran-linked Houthi militants in Yemen. The UK government on Saturday called this third wave of strikes as proportionate and targeted. Its defense ministry released the footage and said that precision-guided bombs were used to strike multiple targets near the Sana'a airfield. The strikes hit buried weapons storage facilities, missile systems, launchers and other capabilities the Houthis have used to attack the Red Sea shipping zone. While United States Central Command also released photos showing a missile launch and flight operations for the strikes. The Pentagon said it targeted 13 locations across the country. The US and Britain led the strikes against 36 targets in total in the second day of major US operations against Iran-linked groups following a deadly attack on American troops last weekend. The United Nations Security Council is going to hold an emergency meeting on Monday regarding the US strikes in Iraq and Syria. The meeting has been requested by Russia after accusing the US of intentionally aggravating the situation in West Asia. The strikes were launched in retaliation for the death of 3 American soldiers. The United States has issued a warning of more potential airstrikes after carrying out an offensive against 85 targets in Iraq and Syria. Now, this comes in response to a drone strike from an Iran-backed militia that killed 3 American service members. Our correspondent Nick Harper gets us the details from Washington.
We've seen considerable anger from the Middle East in response to these US airstrikes, Iraq and Syria, that were struck by the United States, but also Iran, who has backed the militia in those 2 countries, all saying that the US has violated the sovereignty of both Syria and Iraq, and also saying that the US is threatening to create a wider conflict in the Middle East. Iraq and Syria also saying that civilians have been killed in these airstrikes. Now, the US says that they struck targets that they intended to, and they were also telegraphing for several days that these strikes were likely to take place. It seems in the hope of minimising casualties. Reports that many of the militia in those command centres that were hit had evacuated ahead of the strikes. But there's still that fear now as to whether the US airstrikes will create a deterrence or become a point of escalation in this conflict in the Middle East. Now, Joe Biden has said that he isn't seeking a wider war, but he's also said that these strikes that took place on Friday night US time were just the beginning, that there would be more strikes potentially in the coming days against other militia or other command centres within the region. Biden saying that it will continue at the time and place of the US choosing. So the US is trying to deter future attacks, but there is still that overriding fear that what the United States has done may prompt further escalatory action from any of those 3 countries in the region. Although I think it is worth noting that the United States chose not to target Iran itself. There were no attacks on Iranian soil, and we have not seen from Iran, despite the condemnation, any threats to retaliate as a result of these US strikes. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Let's get you an update on Israel-Hamas conflict now. The Israeli military has deployed 3 divisions to the northern border amidst Hezbollah's attacks on northern Israel. IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari at a press conference on Saturday said that the IDF is working to reshape the security reality on the northern border so that some 80,000 Israelis displaced by Hezbollah's attacks can return to their homes.
Over the last 3 months, Hezbollah has attacked the north of Israel, relentlessly firing rockets, mortars, and anti-tank missiles at Israeli communities and military outposts. These acts of terrorism are taking place in parallel to Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza, have led to an internal displacement of many Israeli civilians who have not been able to safely return to their homes. Therefore, the IDF, responding in self-defense, has engaged in very intense fighting on the northern front with the goal of reshaping security of the area that residents of the north can safely return to their homes.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will travel to West Asia next week. Now, this will be Blinken's 5th trip of West Asia since the conflict between Israel and Hamas began on October 7th last year. The top U.S. diplomat will travel to Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Qatar, Israel, and the West Bank. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller in a statement said that the secretary will continue diplomatic efforts to reach to an agreement that secures the release of all remaining hostages and includes a humanitarian pause that will allow for sustained increased delivery of humanitarian assistance to the civilians in Gaza. In Israel, protesters gathered in Tel Aviv on Saturday, urging the government to secure the release of the remaining Hamas hostages in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has pledged to secure the freedom of all the hostages, regardless of their age, gender, or military status. A brief November truce lasted just 1 week when Hamas terrorists freed 110 women, children, and foreign hostages in exchange for Palestinians held in Israeli jails. U.S. House panel will move forward with a $17.6 billion package next week that provides military aid to Israel. The Republican-controlled House has already approved a nearly $14.5 billion military aid package in November for Israel, but with the requirement that it be paid for by clawing back a chunk of money already targeted for the U.S. Internal Revenue Service. The Democratic-controlled Senate balked at that provision and is expected to unveil a legislative package that would aid Israel as well as provide more military assistance for Ukraine in its war against Russia. That same Senate bill is also expected to contain proposals for strengthening security along the southern U.S. border with Mexico. Australia's probing claims that some staff of the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency were involved in the October 7th Hamas terrorist attacks on Israel. Australia is one of the several countries to have halted funding for UNRWA, a critical source of support in Gaza, after Israeli claims of UN employees' complicity with Hamas. The Labour Party leader, Anthony Albanese, said that his government wants to make sure the acquisitions are fully examined so that all funding is going to the purpose for which it is given. The Prime Minister added that he did not want people literally starving in Gaza, and the only organization that can provide that support there is UNRWA. Late last month, Britain, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Switzerland, and Finland joined the United States, Australia, and Canada in pausing funding to the aid agency, which has opened an investigation into several employees and has severed ties with those people.
Well, what we're doing is going through those processes along with our like-minded allies, but all of us want to see the support for kids in Gaza can't be in a situation whereby people are literally starving, and the only organisation that can provide that support there is UNRWA. UNRWA are providing shelter for literally hundreds of thousands of people there. So it's an organisation that has had bipartisan support. It's been funded by Australia for a long period of time and has been funded by our like-minded allies as well. But we want to make sure that the organisation has every single dollar going to the purpose for which it's given.
Update on Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, Russia's Emergencies Ministry said that Ukrainian shelling on the eastern occupied city of Lysychansk has killed at least 20 people. Russian forces said Kyiv had targeted a bakery that is popular on weekends. The attack came as Kyiv said Russia hit it with a fresh barrage of Iranian-made drones, which targeted energy facilities in the central Dnipropetrovsk region, leaving thousands without power. Swiss farmers protest against rising costs and low prices for their produce, joining a movement that has spread across Europe. The protest included around 30 tractors parked on a square in the center of Switzerland's second largest city. Farmers driving up to 40 tractors also took part in a protest in the Basel region. Farmers' protests have erupted in several European countries in a sign of anger at low prices for the produce, rising costs, cheap imports and constraints imposed by EU's drive to fight climate change. Rudy Burley, president of the Geneva Farmers Union, said Switzerland's two main distributors dictate the prices paid to farmers and that the protesters were asking Parliament to bring in measures that would allow farmers to negotiate more fairly with the buyers of agricultural produce. Around 150,000 people attended a protest rally in the German capital against the far right and its ideology. This is the latest in a series of such demonstrations across Germany in recent weeks. Protests on Saturday also took place in Dresden, Maine and Hanover in a sign of growing alarm at the strong public support for the AfD party. Protesters flocked to Reichstag Parliament in Berlin, where protesters gathered to protest against right-wing extremism and to show support for democracy. Earlier this week, a Forza poll showed that backing for the party, that is AfD, dropped below 20% for the first time since July, with voters citing nationwide demonstrations against the far right as the most important issue. Thailand and Sri Lanka signed a free trade agreement on Saturday, a move Sri Lanka hopes will help it emerge from its worst financial crisis in decades. A delegation headed by Thai Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin arrived in Colombo to sign the FTA along with other agreements. Thavisin will also attend Sri Lanka's 76th Independence Day celebrations. The FTA is aimed at enhancing market opportunities with negotiations covering various aspects such as trade in goods, investment, customs procedures, and intellectual property rights. Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Khan were sentenced to 7 years in prison and were also fined by a court that ruled their 2018 marriage violated the law. It was the third adverse ruling against the former Prime Minister this week and comes ahead of national elections that he is barred from contesting. The two were fined $1,800 each. Bushra was accused of not completing the waiting period mandated by Islam after divorcing her previous husband and marrying Imran Khan. The Khans signed their marriage contract in January 2018 in a secret ceremony 7 months before Imran Khan became Prime Minister for the first time. Khan is in prison in the garrison city of Rawalpindi, while his wife has been allowed to serve her sentence at their hilltop mansion in Islamabad. We're heading for a short break. You're watching DD India News Arbad. After the break, leaders of Southern African Development Community SADC come together to forge a joint cholera response plan aiming to control the spread of the disease in the member states. Be it drought or floods, we get you a comprehensive peek into how different parts of the world are braving weather fury. Revelers in Buenos Aires mark the upcoming Lunar New Year of the Dragon in a festival with dragon dance performances.
Our modern industrialized world is producing more toxins than ever before. Water quality across several parts of the world is getting worse.
We need to have these wastewater treatment plants.
Government is carving out localities here and there and releasing all the sewage water into these lakes.
When we analyze all this, the food, constituent of the food had heavy metal.
With biotanks, the sewage water gets recycled. It can be used for different purposes or drained into the ground.
Shipwrecks are a major problem, and airtight international rules are needed to make a difference.
To 10% of a giant ship's weight is made up of asbestos, heavy metals, oil and other toxic substances.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour, and I'm Preeti. US President Joe Biden won the South Carolina Democratic primary, the first officially sanctioned race of the party's nominating season, showing him dominating two other candidates. While Biden faced little opposition, the vote was being closely watched amid concerns about his popularity, especially with black voters. With about 1/5 of the expected ballots counted, Biden won about 33,000 votes. He defeated the other long-shot Democrats on South Carolina's ballot, including U.S. Representative Dean Phillips and author Marianne Williamson. U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris made a joint stop at their 2024 campaign headquarters on Saturday to rally staff and supporters ahead of a challenging re-election bid.
I think you all get it along with me. We can't, this is not just a campaign. This is more of a mission. We cannot lose this campaign for the good of the country. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It's not about me. It goes well beyond me. It goes about the country. And I think everybody knows it, and I think people are beginning to dawn on people.
In an unprecedented move, Senegal postponed presidential elections following an outcry against the disqualification of opposition candidates. In a televised address to the nation, Senegal's President Macky Sall on Saturday announced the delay in polls without setting a new date. Voters in Senegal are due to choose a successor to President Sall, who is not seeking a third term. Meanwhile, opposition candidates called the president's decision to postpone election a constitutional coup. An organization of influential Islamic clerics has also warned of the dangers of postponement and appealed directly to President Sall to take steps to avoid fueling instability. The move to delay the election is unprecedented in a country that is seen as one of the most stable democracies in the West African nation. The U.S. State Department on Saturday urged Senegal to swiftly set a date for a new election after President Sall announced the indefinite postponement of a presidential poll scheduled for February 25th. The U.S. Department's Bureau of African Affairs, in a social media post, expressed concern and urged Senegal to swiftly set a date for new election after President Sall announced the indefinite postponement of the presidential poll scheduled for February 25th. El Salvador goes to polls on Sunday to choose a president. El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, is expected to be re-elected for another 5-year term, despite a constitutional bar on immediate re-election. The supporters of 42-year-old Bukele see a leader whose iron-fisted policies defeated the country's murderous gangs. More than 2% of the adult population of the Central American country is behind bars, and several constitutional rights have been shelved. His critics are calling him a modern-day autocrat and fear that the poor Central American country is barreling towards becoming a one-party state, following Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Cuba. International observers are expecting a peaceful election day in the country.
In these 2 days during our trainings, field trips and meeting citizens, we've observed a peaceful environment. We haven't seen any sort of restriction in citizen liberties. So far, we can say this will be a peaceful voting day with guarantees for all.
Northern Ireland's Parliament appointed an Irish nationalist as First Minister for the first time in a historic shift. Michelle O'Neill is the first nationalist to hold the post as the government returns to work after a 2-year boycott by the Unionists. O'Neill first addressed the Northern Ireland Assembly in Irish, saying the appointment to First Minister was a massive honour. The appointment came as Sinn Féin's pro-British rival, the Democratic Unionist Party, formally ended a 2-year boycott of power-sharing government after striking a deal with British government to ease the post-Brexit trade friction. Namibia's president, Hage Geingob, aged 82, has died in hospital early on Sunday. As the Prime Minister in 2014, Geingob reveals that he survived prostate cancer. He became president the following year. His office announced that he would be traveling to the US for treatment but would return to Namibia on 2nd February. Namibia is due to hold presidential and parliamentary elections in November. The governing SWAPO party, which has been in power since independence in 1990, has chosen Nandi Daitwa as its presidential candidate. She is currently also Namibia's deputy prime minister and will become the country's first female president if she wins. The southern African country is due to hold presidential and parliamentary elections at the end of the year. A convoy of protesters hoping to draw attention to the situation at the US-Mexico border was on its way to Eagle Pass, Texas, as the National Guard soldiers patrolled the area on boats. Eagle Pass has become a flashpoint in a dispute between the White House and Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott to deal with illegal immigration. Texas has deployed National Guard troops to the border and set up floating buoy barriers in the Rio Grande to deter migrant crossings, leading to legal and political disputes with Biden administration. A vehicle convoy carrying Americans opposed to illegal immigration arrived in the area. Participants plan to rally at 3 points near the US-Mexico border on Saturday, with organizers saying the action will focus on peaceful protest and prayer. Spanish Coast Guard rescued 47 migrants on Saturday off the coasts of island of Gran Canaria. The migrants were taken to Argening port, where they were assisted by the Red Cross. Hundreds of migrants have already arrived in February after the number of persons entering Spain irregularly by sea has jumped by 1,000% in January from the same period in 2023, according to government data. The chain of islands off Africa's northwestern coast was the entry point for 39,910 migrants last year, an all-time high record. According to an annual report by rights group Walking Borders, the Atlantic route to Canary Islands is the deadliest migration route to Spain. The heads of state and government of the Southern African Development Community, that is the SADC, have proposed a joint cholera response plan to control the spread of the disease in member states. Thousands of people have been infected and hundreds have died in the region from the disease since late last year. Let's get you the latest information on this from DD India's correspondent, Isaac Lucando.
Leaders of the Southern African Development Community, SADC, have recommended synchronized cross-border vaccination campaigns against cholera. Since January last year, cholera has affected Botswana, South Africa, Mozambique, Zambia, Tanzania and the DRC, among others. Experts say this outbreak could be the worst cholera crisis in Southern Africa in years. UN agencies have reported 200,000 plus infections and 300,000 plus deaths in 13 African countries since last year. January alone witnessed 6,000 new cases and 355 deaths in 9 countries. SADC member states say they aim to enhance their ability to assess the risk of outbreaks across borders and improve public health surveillance. The economic bloc also plans joint efforts to improve early detection and disease prevention. Cholera, waterborne and lethal, mostly impacts communities with poor water and sanitation. Isaac Lucando in Dar es Salaam reporting for DD India.
Let's get to weather fury across the world now. Forest fires raging in central Chile have killed over 50 people till now. Chile's President Gabriel Boric has warned that the death toll is likely to keep rising. We get your detailed report ahead.
At present, the world is grappling with the adverse effects of global warming. While some areas are experiencing wildfires, others are facing floods. Every effort is being made to deal with natural disasters. But until our efforts yield positive results, is there any way to save the planet from this catastrophe? Chile is currently grappling with a critical weather crisis as devastating wildfires have ravaged the central Valparaiso region with approximately 480 hectares of land engulfed in flames.
The fire in the Melosilla sector where we are right now has affected close to 480 hectares. It was caused by the weather conditions, the temperature, extreme heat.
The Melosilla area has been severely affected, a tragedy attributed to soaring temperatures and exacerbated by strong winds.
The outcome has been the loss of over 50 lives, and concerns arise that this number may escalate.
We need help, food for our pets, supplies, clothes. I don't know. My house, I lost everything, everything.
The aftermath is grim, with drone footage displaying the desolate remnants of scorched homes, highlighting the severity of the situation as the deadliest forest fire outbreak in the past 10 years.
From one moment to the next, the fire reached the botanical park. In 10 minutes, the fire was already on us. There was smoke, the sky turned black, everything was dark. The wind felt like a hurricane. It was like being in hell.
The entire nation is plagued by 92 active fires, resulting in over 43,000 hectares being impacted, with 7,000 burned hectares in Valparaiso alone.
My wife had a workshop with workout gear and I had my workshop with swing machines.
The situation remains critical, necessitating continued vigilance and support. Bureau Report, DT India.
Let's get you more weather updates again from across the globe. Wildfires raged through South Africa's Western Cape coastal towns, prompting evacuations. Helicopters were seen dousing flames with seawater as thick smoke enveloped Pringle Bay and Betty's Bay. The cause of the wildfire is under scrutiny, with dry and hot weather conditions blamed for widespread blazes. Deadly drought wreaks havoc in Colombia as cracked soil and mud islands emerge in Bogota's reservoir, impacting water supply for the city. La Regadera Reservoir, supplying southern Bogota, is at 35% capacity, alarming the nearby towns. Farmers struggle with damaged crops and declining livestock due to the lack of fresh grass. President Petro's administration has declared a natural disaster to address the crisis. Southern California in the United States encountered heavy rainfall from the first of the two consecutive atmospheric river storms. The deluge caused localized flooding and stranded vehicles. Flash flood warnings were issued for Los Angeles County, with flood advisories in San Diego and Orange counties as well. A more intense second storm is projected to impact California with high winds and substantial rainfall, enhancing the flood risk. Floods hit Peru as rivers overflow from heavy rainfall, submerging streets and causing damages to the homes. The Tiamara River floods a sports field in Junín, destroying basketball and football fields, with houses and crops affected. In Cajamarca, residents use plastic containers to clear muddy waters from their homes. The Peruvian National Meteorological and Hydrological Service warns that the coastal El Nino phenomena will persist until late summers, resulting in the ongoing impact. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world now. Bruce Springsteen and other music stars paid tribute to rocker Jon Bon Jovi on Friday at an annual pre-Grammys fundraiser, putting their spin on hits such as Blaze of Glory from the singer's extensive rock catalogue. The 61-year-old was chosen as this year's Person of the Year by Music Cares.
Wow.
The upcoming Lunar New Year of the Dragon in a festival with dragon dance performances was celebrated in the Argentinian capital of Buenos Aires. China's ambassador to Argentina, Wang Wei, partook in the event by drawing the eyes on one of the dragons. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. With focus on development, Prime Minister Modi to inaugurate multiple programs in Assam today. Marking the robust maritime ties between India and Sri Lanka, INS Karanj arrives in the port of Colombo ahead of Sri Lanka's 76th Independence Day celebrations. Delhiites woke up to a wet morning as the national capital witnessed a fresh light rainfall spell owing to the approaching cloud cluster.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook of the top stories once again. US and UK launched joint strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen, hit 36 sites across 13 locations. Raging wildfire in Chile killed over 50, caused widespread destruction. In cricket, Bumrah's historic 6-wicket haul and double ton by Yashasvi Jaiswal provide India a 171-run lead against England in the second test. With an aim to boost overall economic development of northeastern Guwahati, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of multiple projects there. On his arrival, a grand lantern lighting ceremony was held around Veterinary College Field, Khanapara in Guwahati to welcome him. Over 1 lakh earthen lamps were lit to welcome Prime Minister. Today, Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone for Ma Kamakhya Access Corridor to provide world-class amenities to the pilgrims visiting Kamakhya Temple. Prime Minister will also lay the foundation stone of multiple road upgradation projects. Now, these projects will help improve connectivity to Itanagar and also boost overall economic development of the region. With a view to harness the tremendous sports potential of the region, Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone of projects to boost sports infrastructure in the state. The projects include an international standard sports stadium in Chandrapur, and also upgradation of Nehru Stadium as a FIFA standard football stadium. Prime Minister will also lay the foundation stone for development of infrastructure of Guwahati Medical College and Hospital. Further, the foundation stone for development of a medical college at Karimganj will also be laid by him. The Commonwealth Legal Education Association Commonwealth Attorneys and Solicitors General Conference 2024 is set to conclude today in the national capital. President Draupadi Murmu, along with Union Home Minister Amit Shah, will grace the valedictory function. The conference is focused on cross-border challenges in justice delivery and important issues pertaining to law and justice like judicial transition and ethical dimensions of legal practice, executive accountability, and revisiting modern-day legal education were deliberated upon. Deputy Prime Minister of Fiji, Biman Prasad, is set to embark on a week-long visit to India starting Sunday. Prasad also serves as the Minister of Finance, Strategic Planning, National Development and Statistics for his country. He is also the first foreign leader to visit Ayodhya after Pran Pratishtha ceremony that took place on January 22nd. His official engagements will commence on Monday, a day after his arrival in the national capital. Biman Prasad has previously visited India in February 2023 on his official trip to India. recognizing the crucial role played by accredited social health activists and Anganwadi workers in the healthcare sector. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, in her budget speech, declared the extension of the health coverage under Ayushman Bharat scheme. The inclusion of these frontline workers in the scheme aims to enhance healthcare benefits and support their invaluable contribution. Apollo Tyres has set a goal to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, aspiring to be recognized as the greenest company. The company is actively enhancing efficiency in various areas to meet sustainability objectives. They have also repurposed recycled rubber to create a football pitch, showcasing its commitment to environmental responsibility. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya reports on this.
The world is moving towards sustainability, and it's no wonder that Indian companies are working in tandem to achieve net zero responsibility by 2070. I have with me the CMO of Apollo Company. Sir, what's your name?
Vikram Garga.
Vikram, sir, tell us how your company is going ahead with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of net neutral India by 2070. What are you guys doing for sustainability?
Sure. So I think one of the most important thing is that sustainability is one of the 5 pillars of our vision of 2026. Huge plans in terms of in scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 of how we can help reduce emissions or conserve water utilization across our plants. We are working towards carbon neutrality by 2015. This means we're working across the entire ecosystem of not just selling of tires, but even procurement of the raw materials. We are talking about sustainable raw material going into the making of the tires. We are talking about conservation of water, conservation of energy.
There is a sort of a football, playground sort of a thing that you made, right?
Youth of tomorrow, the children of tomorrow, to actually play on these grounds. So we are working with the community, we are working with the younger generation, the future of tomorrow, and helping them see that how they can be part of this whole sustainability itself. And of course, the biggest piece is the EVization that is happening, right, of the auto industry. So we were the pioneers in coming out with electric vehicle dedicated tires, whether it's two-wheelers, whether it is four-wheelers. We also got the most fuel-efficient truck tires. You can save up to 10% of your fuel, and you know how much fuel it goes into the running of a truck. All these are initiatives towards sustainability.
And you guys want to become net zero by 2030?
By 2050.
2050, you guys want to do that?
Absolutely, but you never know. We are working on it day and night. Hopefully we can get it earlier, if not, as early as 2030.
Much appreciate your time. So that was the CMO of Apollo Tyres saying that they are working in tandem with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of a net neutral India by 2070. Their vision is 2050 and they want to achieve it even before that. With Campus Analytics, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
All right, let's get to weather updates from across India now. Delhi and its adjoining National Capital Region woke up to light rainfall on Sunday, with minimum temperatures settling at 10 degrees Celsius. According to the Met Department, the National Capital will witness a generally cloudy sky and light rain showers accompanied by gusty winds through the day on Sunday. The Weather Department has also forecast light to moderate widespread rainfall and snowfall accompanied by thunderstorm, gusty winds and hailstorms at isolated places over North India till Tuesday. DD India correspondent Meghna Dev joins us with more. Meghna, good morning. We tell our viewers that Delhiites woke up to a wet morning today owing to a cloud cluster. Can we get more details as to how is the morning now?
Yeah, though the Delhiites woke up, witnessed a light rainfall this morning. Besides that, also it is forecast that there will be gusty winds. That has been forecast by the IMD. Besides that, what we see is that in the past few days, due to a western disturbance, there has been light rainfall, and this rainfall is expected to continue because of the western disturbance. Now, what also is expected is that this disturbance might also cause some hailstorms in the areas around Punjab, Haryana, these places. Besides that, what we also understand is that snowfall is also expected in Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, so that can also be expected. But besides, when we actually talk about Delhi and the surrounding region, we definitely see that it's been raining last night also, later in the night, or probably we can say after 12 midnight, it started, light rainfall started, and also in the morning it was raining. Besides that, it is expected that this will continue for a few days because of the western disturbance which brought this rainfall, but this is helping the temperature to not dip further.
All right. Also, Meghna, spell out more details as to how the Met Department has predicted weather in the next few days, because we tell our viewers that cold conditions will still persist.
When we actually see that, IMD scientists have also been saying that the temperature will not dip further, because generally the western disturbance has a tendency to bring in, for rise in temperature, or to help the temperature not dip further. Besides that, we also see that this will also enhance a little bit on, there will be a rainfall as well. We also definitely see that when the cold wave conditions will not be prevailing, dipping any further for the next at least 5 to 7 days till there is rainfall and the western disturbance impact persists here.
All right, Meghna, thank you for joining in with those details. And let's get to other updates now. Every year, February 4th is celebrated as World Cancer Day, a day to spread awareness in the fight against cancer. Cervical cancer is the second most common cancer affecting women. People from all over the world come together to prevent cancer and raise awareness about its spread. Let's take a look at this report.
Cancer Day, observed on February 4 each year, serves as a global initiative to raise awareness about cancer, its prevention, detection and treatment. The day aims to reduce the burden of cancer-related illnesses and deaths worldwide. Cervical cancer is the second most prevalent type of cancer among women. For bolstering women's health, during the Budget 2024, India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced free vaccination for girls in the age group of 9 to 14 years for the prevention of cervical cancer.
सबसे पहले तो सर्वाइकल कैंसर वैक्सीन ही अपने में एक बहुत बड़ी बात है, क्योंकि दिस इज़ द ओनली कैंसर एट प्रेजेंट जो हम वैक्सीन से पूरी तरह से प्रिवेंट कर सकते हैं. सो एटलीस्ट, और ये एक ऐसा कैंसर है जो आज भी हमारे देश में, मतलब हर रोज़ 200 से ज़्यादा महिलाएं और अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 200 लेडीज़ दे डाई बिकॉज ऑफ सर्वाइकल कैंसर. तो इतनी बड़ी मात्रा में लोग जिस वजह से अपनी जान खो रहे हैं, और आने वाले टाइम में आज हम वो बात कर रहे हैं कि अगर हम वैक्सीनेशन को फुल फ्लेज तरीके से इम्प्लीमेंट करते हैं तो आने वाले टाइम में इस कैंसर को ही हम पूरी तरह से इरेडिकेट कर देंगे.
Early detection is crucial for successful treatment of cancer. Nowadays, advanced technology can network and improve the infrastructure and resource models and ensure optimal utilization of available cancer care services.
100 कैंसर अगर होंगे तो 20-25% लोगों में ये टारगेटेड थेरेपी का इस्तेमाल हो सकता है. बाकी में कीमोथेरेपी और इम्यूनोथेरेपी की दवाइयाँ देते हैं जिससे कि कैंसर्स कंट्रोल होते हैं.
कैंसर स्क्रीनिंग के लिए गवर्नमेंट ने ब्रेस्ट स्क्रीनिंग का प्रोग्राम चला रखा है, सर्वाइकल स्क्रीनिंग का प्रोग्राम चला रखा है, ओरल कैंसर के लिए स्क्रीनिंग का प्रोग्राम चला रखा है. लेकिन शहरों के लोग भी जो कि पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, जिनको इन चीज़ों के बारे में अंदेशा है, हम लोग कितने अपनी तरफ से एफर्ट्स लेते हैं कि जाके खुद को स्क्रीन कराएं. गवर्नमेंट स्क्रीनिंग प्रोग्राम में अगर हम नहीं जाना चाहते हैं तो कम से कम प्राइवेट स्क्रीनिंग फैसिलिटीज़ में जा सकते हैं.
रियलाइजेशन होना चाहिए कि कैंसर हमें उन्हें हो सकता है, और उसके लिए जो भी प्रिवेंटिव तरीके हो सकते हैं, चाहे वो टोबैको कंट्रोल करना हो, चाहे वो अल्कोहल कंट्रोल करना हो, चाहे वो एक्सरसाइज ज़िंदगी में अपनानी हो, चाहे वो सही खान पान करना हो, तो उन पर ध्यान दें.
There are many types of cancer, the risk of it being seen in people of all ages. Regular medical checkups and lifestyle modifications can help reduce the risk of death from cancer. The risk of cervical and breast cancer is highest in women, while the risk of lung, prostate and colon cancer is highest among men. Bureau Report, DD India.
And on the occasion of World Cancer Day, people from all walks of life participated in large numbers in a breast cancer awareness walkathon held at Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in the national capital. Indian Army in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir organized a medical camp for Bakarwal community in Dahok, Khalsa ahead of the World Cancer Day. Let's get to other updates. Sri Lanka is celebrating its 76th National Independence Day. The main celebrations are being held at Galle Face Green in Colombo amidst tight security. The official ceremony commenced with the arrival of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Prime Minister of Thailand, Srettha Thavisin, is the chief guest of the Independence Day celebrations, which is being held under the theme, Let's Build a New Country. This year's Independence Day celebration features a multitude of spectacular events, with a march by members of the Tri-Forces, Police, Civil Defence Force and cadets celebrating Sri Lanka's independence. INS Karanj, an Indian Navy submarine, arrived in the port of Colombo ahead of Sri Lanka's 76th Independence Day celebrations today. The visit symbolizes the strengthened maritime relations between India and Sri Lanka. The submarine was welcomed by Sri Lanka Navy in accordance with the naval customs. A short break ahead, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Stay with us as we get you all the action from Davis Cup, even as India holds an edge over Pakistan. Spectators in Bolivia witnessed a battle, but of a different kind. After the break, we get you an exclusive sneak peek into this face-off.
Our modern industrialized world is producing more toxins than ever before. Water quality across several parts of the world is getting worse.
We need to have these wastewater treatment plants.
Government is carving out localities here and there.
Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get to updates from the world of sports now. In cricket, Jasprit Bumrah claimed 6 for 45 in a reverse swing masterclass to fetch India a handy lead on day 2 of the second test against England in Visakhapatnam. Replying to India's 396 in the first innings, England were cruising at 114 for 1, batting with unbridled aggression. Bumrah then turned the match on its head and England were all out for 253, conceding a first innings lead of 143. India were 28 for no loss at stumps for an overall lead of 171. England got off to a strong start with Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett. Crawley hit Bumrah for 4 fours in an over en route to a 52-ball 50. But England innings fell apart after Crawley's dismissal. India has taken a 2-0 lead against Pakistan in Davis Cup World Group 1 playoff match in Islamabad on Saturday. In the first singles match, Ramkumar Ramanathan defeated Essam-ul-Haq Qureshi in a grueling 3-set match. Ramanathan displayed resilience and determination to secure a 6-7, 7-6, 6-0 victory after losing the first set. In another singles match, Sriram Balaji overcame Akhil Khan in straight sets. He won 7-5, 6-3 to give India a 2-0 lead on the opening day. India will take on Pakistan in the remaining 2 singles and doubles ties on Sunday. And up next, we get to you a story of bravery, determination and resilience. 34-year-old para-cricketer Amir Hussain Lone, who hails from Waghama village in Jammu and Kashmir's Anantnag district, has inspired the cricketing world with his extraordinary talent. Despite facing the tragic loss of both the arms, Amir's cricketing talent has earned accolades from the cricket legends. Notably, Amir is the captain of Jammu and Kashmir's para-cricket team. He has a unique playing style and he's an inspiration for everyone. Take a look.
Sports can do wonders in life. It teaches us many things which go hand in hand to face difficulties of life and emerge as winners. Victim to the most unfortunate of situations, para-athletes are those figures who inspire with their stirring stories, showing their incredible journey and making people realize that just about anything is possible if you dream enough. Nothing, no disability, no crisis can hinder your growth. One such story is of Amir Hussain Lone, who hails from Waghama village in Kashmir. The 34-year-old differently able cricketer life was shattered when he lost his hands in the tragic sawmill accident at the tender age of 8. But he did not lose hope and showed that resilience can make anything possible. Today, he has emerged as an inspiring figure in the cricketing world. Amir has been given the responsibility of leading the para-cricket team of Jammu and Kashmir. Discovered by a teacher in 2013, Amir exhibits remarkable skills. His batting style is different from other cricketers as he bats holding it between his neck and shoulder while bowling with his feet. He even participated in the United Arab Emirates Dubai Premier League held in Sharjah.
तो मेरे शौक़ तो क्रिकेट खेलना था, लेकिन 8 साल की उम्र में हमारा एक्सीडेंट हो गया। लेकिन उसके बावजूद भी मैंने जो है हार नहीं मानी अपनी ज़िंदगी से और हमेशा मैंने ये सोचा था कि मैं आगे जाऊं और मैं अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह आज हर कोई काम जो भी काम होता है वो मैं खुद करता हूं। जहां तक क्रिकेट का सवाल है, जो एक पैर से गेंदबाजी करना और फिर नेक और शोल्डर के दरमियान बल्ला पकड़ना, वो एक अनोखा था, क्योंकि लोग जब देखते हैं कि पैर से गेंदबाजी करना और वो भी टर पर, और सभी ने जो है इस पे बहुत हैरान हो गए इस बात पर कि कैसे ये गेंदबाजी करता है। लेकिन मैं अल्लाह ताला का लाख लाख शुक्र अदा करता हूँ जिन्होंने आज मुझे किसी चीज़ की कमी महसूस नहीं होने दी।
With physical limitations being his new identity, Amir ventured into para-cricket during his college days, where he not only scored runs but also went on to lead Jammu and Kashmir para team.
पहला 2013 में हमने नेशनल खेला था, उसके बाद फिर हर एक इंडिया में, फिर 2018 में मैं बांग्लादेश नेशनल इंटरनेशनल मैच खेलने गए, फिर उसके बाद नेपाल और शारजा दुबई गए खेलने के लिए। इन जगहों पर मैंने क्रिकेट खेला है और सभी हमारे फेवरेट प्लेयर है। उसमें अभी तो है सचिन सर जो हमारा फेवरेट प्लेयर है, तो अभी विराट कोहली सर भी है, क्योंकि विराट कोहली सर इंशाल्लाह उनके साथ भी मुलाकात इंशाल्लाह उम्मीद करते हैं हो जाएगी इंशाल्लाह।
Amir's neighbor also hails him, who has become the star of Jammu and Kashmir.
बहुत फख्र है आमिर पर, इसने इस इलाके का नाम रोशन कर दिया।
Cricket greats like Sachin Tendulkar and Ashish Nehra have hailed the batter. Nehra also invited him to watch T20 World Cup 2016 semi-final at Wankhede. Amir is a huge fan of Sachin and even wears his name jersey. While the story of Amir Lone is of immense inspiration, the hardship that he came across in the road to establish himself as professional para-cricketer is one that instills people with faith and belief that where there is a will, there is a way.
Yes, where there's a will, there is a way. What an inspiring story there. And from here, we take you to Bolivia. Carnival attendees were delighted on Saturday by a Battle of the Bands competition. Over 5,000 musicians dressed in colorful suits performed traditional songs in the city of Oruro. All right, that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.